Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to look at the kind of English, the kind of words, expressions that are permitted for the formal letter and the kind of expressions that are permitted for the informal letter. If you may recall, we said a formal letter is a letter that we write for business purposes and for official reasons, while the informal letter is a letter we write to our close friends, our pals, people that we know. So let's look at the kind of expressions that are permitted. Firstly, the formal letter makes use of formal English. What is a formal English? A formal English is the kind of English that we use for official purposes. While the informal letter makes use of informal English. This is a kind of English that we use for family and friends. This kind of English is also known as a relaxed kind of English. So when you are using the informal English, you are free to express yourself with whatever expression you want to express yourself with, because these are persons that you know. However, for the formal letter, you need to be careful with your choice of words. And being careful with your choice of words makes the kind of English a serious kind of English. So it's not every expression that you can use while writing a formal letter. Imagine you are writing a letter to your boss. You'll be very careful with your choice of words and expression. So that is how it is with a formal letter. Let's look at the difference between the formal letter and the informal letter as it pertains the choice of words and expression. Firstly, the use of contractions are not permitted in the formal letter. While for the informal letter, you can use contractions. What are contractions? Contractions are words like couldn't, wouldn't, haven't. For the formal letter, instead of saying couldn't, you would say could not, have not, should not, as the case may be. So when you are writing the formal letter, you don't use contractions. You write it in full. But for the informal letter, you are permitted to use contractions while writing. The use of phrasal verbs is also permitted in the informal letter. What are phrasal verbs? Phrasal verbs are verbs that go alongside with a preposition. For instance, go up, turn up, find out. These are phrasal verbs. If you are writing a formal letter, instead of using a phrasal verb, you would look for a longer word that mean the same thing with a phrasal verb. So instead of saying go up, you can say increase. For instance, while writing an informal letter, you can say the prices have gone up. But for the formal letter, you would say the prices have increased. Also, instead of saying informal letter, instead of saying find out, you would use the word discover. So informal letter, phrasal verbs are allowed, while for formal letter, you are going to use look for a choice of words. For formal letter, you would use a word that would mean the same thing like the phrasal verb, but you wouldn't use a phrasal verb for formal writings. The use of imperatives are permitted in informal writings. What are imperatives? Imperatives are statements of command. There are statements that begins with the verb. For instance, sit down, go out. You can use imperatives while writing your informal letter, because these people you are writing to, they are people that you are acquainted with, so you can use imperatives. And then you can also use your exclamation mark. But for formal letter, the use of imperative is discouraged. Using imperative for formal letter is a no-no. Instead of using imperatives in the formal letter, you would be looking for more polite expressions, like you may sit down, rather than saying sit down. So the use of imperatives are permitted in informal writings, while for formal writings, the use of imperatives are totally discouraged. In informal writings, you can make use of the word can, want. For instance, you can say I can, I want. But for formal writings, you would look for better expressions such as may, could, may I, not I want, or can I. You'll be making use of words, more polite expressions, rather than using can, want. For informal writing, you can say something like very, totally, I totally agree with you. But for formal writing, you would use better words like I strongly agree with you. I strongly disagree with this. In informal writing, while choosing your connectors, you can use expressions like on top of it all. As if that was not enough. What are connectors? Connectors are words, expressions that join one word to the other, or join one sentence to the other, or join one paragraph to the other. So, in using your connectors, you can use expressions that are informal to join your words, to join your sentences, or to join your paragraphs. However, for formal writing, expressions like and on top of it all, as if that was not enough, are totally discouraged. Rather, you would use more formal words like furthermore, moreover, however, instead of saying on top of it all. Instead of saying on top of it all, as if that was not enough. So you would use more formal expressions like furthermore, moreover, however. In conclusion, those are more formal way of connecting ideas. Formal writings, the use of abbreviation is totally discouraged. While for informal writing, you can use abbreviation. For instance, in your informal writing, you can say TV, but for formal writing, you would need to write it in full and say television. The use of abbreviation is not permitted for formal writing, while for informal writing, the use of abbreviation is permitted. So we have been able to look at certain expressions that are permitted for the formal letter and that of the informal letter. And just a way of doing recap, we said that for your formal writings, the use of contractions are totally discouraged. The use of abbreviations are totally discouraged. The use of some connectors are totally discouraged. However, moreover, furthermore, and others are better connectors than saying on top of it all, as if that was not enough. For formal writings, rather than using imperatives, you look for more polite way of saying what you want to say. Rather than saying sit down, you can say you may have a seat. That is more polite than using imperatives. Also, phrasal verbs are totally discouraged for formal writings. You can use your phrasal verbs for informal writing, while for formal writing, you need to limit the use of phrasal verbs. Look for longer words that mean the same thing as a phrasal verb you would use in the informal writing. So this is where we ending this video for today. Thank you very much for watching. Also share this video with your friends, and if you like to get more of our content, click on the subscription button, like the video, drop your comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.